Subscribe to my YouTube channel for deeply emotional, romantic, and mature stories that echo through your heart. Don't forget to like, share, and comment to support meaningful storytelling. The pregnancy test lay on the bathroom counter like a verdict, 2 pink lines staring back at Sarah with unwavering certainty. Her hands trembled as she picked it up, hoping somehow the lines would fade, that this moment would dissolve into one of those anxiety dreams that felt too real. But the lines remained, bold and unmistakable, announcing a truth that would change everything. Marcus had been gone for 3 months already. 3 months of video calls that lasted until her phone battery died, of falling asleep to his voice, crackling through poor internet connections from construction sites scattered across the Midwest. He'd taken the job reluctantly, a 6-month contract that would pay enough to finally put a down payment on the house they'd been dreaming about. The house with the white picket fence and the garden where Sarah had imagined planting roses. Now, as she stared at the test, that dream felt both impossibly close and devastatingly far away. Sarah sank onto the edge of the bathtub, her mind racing through calculations. When had it happened? It must have been that last weekend before he left, when they'd spent every moment wrapped in each other's arms, trying to memorize the feeling of being together. They'd been so consumed with the ache of impending separation that they'd been careless about other things. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Marcus. Their daily call, right on schedule. Hey, beautiful, his voice filled the small bathroom, warm and familiar despite the distance. You sound different. Everything okay? Sarah looked at herself in the mirror, pale, wide-eyed, holding a secret that felt too big for her body. I'm fine, she managed, though her voice came out smaller than intended. Just tired. You've been tired a lot lately. Are you sure you're taking care of yourself? I worry about you being alone there. The concern in his voice nearly broke her resolve. She wanted to tell him everything, to share this moment that should have been theirs together. But how could she burden him with this news when he was so far away? When there was nothing he could do but worry? I'm okay, Marcus. Really, tell me about your day. As he launched into stories about the bridge project and his difficult foreman, Sarah found herself imagining a different conversation, the one where she would have run to him with the test, where they would have sat together processing this news, scared and excited and holding each other through the uncertainty. Instead, she listened to his voice grow tinny through the phone speaker and felt more alone than ever. The next few weeks passed in a blur of morning sickness and careful deception. Sarah had always been terrible at keeping secrets from Marcus, but pregnancy, she discovered, came with its own protective instincts. Every time she opened her mouth to tell him, something held her back. The exhaustion in his voice after 12-hour workdays, the stress he carried about the project timeline, the way he talked about their future with such hope and determination. Told herself she was protecting him, giving him space to focus on the work that would secure their dreams. But late at night, when the nausea would wake her and she'd find herself alone in their bed, she wondered if she was really protecting herself from his reaction. What if he wasn't ready? What if this wasn't the right time? What if the distance between them had grown into something more than miles? You look like you're glowing, her sister Emma observed during one of their coffee dates. Are you using a new skincare routine? Sarah nearly choked on her decaf latte. Something like that. Emma studied her with the penetrating gaze that had made her an excellent therapist and an occasionally annoying sister. Sarah, what's going on? You've been acting strange for weeks. The words tumbled out before Sarah could stop them. I'm pregnant. Emma's eyes widened, then softened with understanding. Oh, honey, how far along? About 6 weeks, maybe 7. And Marcus? Sarah's silence was answer enough. You haven't told him. Emma reached across the table to take her hand. Sarah, why? Because he's working so hard for us, for our future. Because he calls me exhausted every night and talks about how much he misses me and how he can't wait to come home. Because I don't want to add to his stress when there's nothing he can do from there. But this is good news, isn't it? You two have been together for 3 years. You've talked about marriage, about starting a family. Someday, Sarah whispered. We've talked about it someday. Not now. Not like this. Not with him hundreds of miles away. Emma squeezed her hand. You can't carry this alone, Sarah. It's not fair to you or to him. But Sarah had already made her decision. She would wait. She would handle the early appointments, the morning sickness, the overwhelming fatigue. She would be strong enough for both of them until Marcus came home. And then they would figure out everything together. It seemed like such a reasonable plan at the time. By the time Sarah reached her 2nd trimester, the deception had become a full-time job. She'd moved their evening video calls to the living room, where the camera angle wouldn't show the subtle changes in her body. She'd become an expert at strategic clothing choices and careful positioning. She'd learned to time her calls for when the nausea was least likely to strike. But the emotional toll was devastating. I had this dream about you last night, Marcus said during one of their calls, his face pixelated and breaking up through the poor connection. We were in that house we looked at before I left, the one with the big kitchen. You were cooking, something that smelled incredible, and I was sitting at the table just watching you. It felt so real I could almost taste whatever you were making. Sarah's hand moved unconsciously to her stomach, where a small bump was just beginning to show. What was I cooking? I don't know, but it was something special. Like we were celebrating. He paused, his image freezing for a moment before the connection stabilized. I can't wait to come home to you, Sarah. I can't wait to start really building our life together. The irony wasn't lost on her. Their life was already changing, growing, literally expanding inside her body. And he didn't even know it. How much longer? She asked, though she already knew the answer. 2.5 months. 10 weeks. But who's counting? He laughed, but Sarah could hear the loneliness underneath it. Some days it feels like forever. After they hung up, Sarah sat in the quiet apartment, surrounded by the evidence of her secret prenatal vitamins hidden in her nightstand, pregnancy books tucked behind other volumes on the shelf, a folder of ultrasound images she hadn't shown anyone except Emma. She pulled out the latest ultrasound photo, taken just days before. The baby was clearly visible now, no longer just a blob of cells, but a tiny human with distinguishable features. The technician had pointed out the head, the hands, the perfect curve of the spine. Everything looks perfect, she'd said with a smile. Do you want to know the sex? Not yet, Sarah had replied, though what she really meant was not without Marcus. Now, holding the photo, she wondered how many more moments like this she would experience alone. The first time she felt the baby move. The moment when her body would no longer be able to hide the truth. The day when their child would be born, and Marcus would still be 3 months away. The thought made her stomach clench with something that had nothing to do with morning sickness. The call came on a Tuesday night in her 18th week. Sarah had been dozing on the couch, exhausted from a day of fighting nausea and trying to appear normal at work, when her phone rang. Sarah, Marcus's voice was different, tight, strained. We need to talk. She sat up, immediately alert. What's wrong? Are you okay? I'm fine. Physically anyway. There was a long pause. I got a call today. From Emma. Sarah's blood turned to ice. Emma called you? She was worried about you. Said you haven't been yourself lately. That you've been stressed and distant. She thought maybe you'd talk to me about whatever was going on. Sarah closed her eyes, her mind racing. Emma had promised to keep her secret, but she'd also made it clear that she thought Sarah was making a mistake by not telling Marcus. Sarah, what's going on? Are you sick? Are you having second thoughts about us? Because if you are, if this distance is too much, you need to tell me. I can't keep going like this not knowing. The pain in his voice was unbearable. Here she'd been trying to protect him from stress, and instead she'd created a different kind of suffering. The kind that came from feeling shut out by the person you loved most. I'm not sick, she said carefully. And I'm not having second thoughts. About us. Then what? Emma made it sound like something serious was going on. Sarah stood up, pacing to the window that overlooked the street where they'd taken walks together, where they'd planned their future, where she'd imagined pushing a stroller someday. That someday had arrived faster than either of them had expected. Marcus, I need to tell you something. But I need you to listen, really listen, before you say anything. She heard him take a deep breath. Okay, I'm pregnant. The silence stretched between them, filled with static and the weight of words that couldn't be taken back. Pregnant, he repeated finally, his voice flat with shock. About 18 weeks. It happened that last weekend before you left. 18 weeks. She could hear him doing the math, could almost see his face as he processed what this meant. You've known for ... how long? Since you'd been gone about a month. A month. You've known for 3 months and you didn't tell me. The hurt in his voice was like a physical blow. Marcus, I wanted to tell you. I wanted to tell you every single day. But you were so stressed about work. And I thought... You thought what? That I didn't deserve to know. That this wasn't important enough to share with me. No. I thought I was protecting you. I thought I was being strong. By lying to me? His voice cracked. By going through this alone. By making me feel like I was losing you when all this time you were growing our baby. Sarah was crying now, tears streaming down her face as months of carefully controlled emotions finally broke free. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do. I was scared and confused, and I missed you so much, and I thought I was doing the right thing. Sarah. His voice was softer now, but still heavy with pain. This is our baby. Our baby. Do you understand what you've taken away from me? The first ultrasound. The first time you heard the heartbeat. Watching your body change. Being there for you when you were scared. I know, and I'm sorry. I saved everything. All the ultrasound photos. All the appointment notes. I thought we could go through them together when you got home. When I got home. He laughed bitterly. Sarah, I'm going to be a father. In 4 months, and I just found out tonight. How am I supposed to process that? How am I supposed to finish this job knowing that you're going through pregnancy alone? You have to finish it. We need the money now more than ever. The money? His voice rose. You think I care about money right now? My girlfriend is pregnant with my child, and I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere. And you think I'm worried about money? Marcus, please, we can figure this out. We can make this work. Can we? Because right now I don't know what to think. I don't know if I can trust you anymore. If you could keep something this big from me for 3 months, what else aren't you telling me? The accusation hit her like a slap. There's nothing else. This is the only thing. I love you, Marcus. I love you and I love this baby, and I'm terrified that I've ruined everything. The line went quiet, except for the sound of both of them breathing. I need time, he said finally. I need to think about this. About us. About what this means. Marcus, please don't hang up. Please don't shut me out. You shut me out first, he said quietly. You shut me out of the most important thing that's ever happened to us. The line went dead. Sarah stared at the phone in her hand, feeling like her world had just collapsed. She'd been so focused on protecting their relationship that she'd destroyed it instead. She'd been so worried about the timing being wrong that she'd made everything infinitely worse. She sank back onto the couch, her hand moving to her stomach, where their baby was growing, oblivious to the chaos in the adult world above. For the first time since she'd seen those two pink lines, she felt truly alone. The next few days passed without contact. Sarah's phone remained stubbornly silent, and every time she worked up the courage to call Marcus, she lost her nerve. What could she say that would undo the damage? How could she explain that every decision she'd made had been out of love when the results looked so much like betrayal? She threw herself into preparing for the baby, as if buying tiny clothes and assembling a crib could somehow make up for the months of secrecy. She scheduled appointments and read parenting books and tried to imagine doing everything alone. The thought terrified her. On Friday, Emma showed up at her door with takeout and a determined expression. "You look terrible," she said, pushing past Sarah into the apartment. "Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear. When's the last time you talked to him?" "Tuesday. When he hung up on me, after finding out his girlfriend had been lying to him for 3 months. Emma set the food on the kitchen table and turned to face her sister. "Sarah, you need to stop punishing yourself. Yes, you made a mistake. Yes, you should have told him sooner. But you didn't do it out of malice. You did it because you love him and you were trying to protect him. It doesn't matter why I did it. What matters is that I broke his trust. Trust can be rebuilt, but not if you give up." Sarah sank into a chair, exhausted. What if he doesn't want this? What if he decides he's not ready to be a father? Then you'll figure it out. But what if he does want this? What if he's sitting in his trailer right now, staring at ultrasound photos you texted him, and trying to figure out how to forgive you because he loves you too much to let you go? "I didn't send him any photos." Emma stared at her. "You didn't send him any photos?" "Sarah, he just found out he's going to be a father, and you didn't even send him a picture of his baby." The realization hit Sarah like a freight train. In her shame and fear, she'd forgotten that Marcus might want to see the baby, might want to be part of this pregnancy even from a distance. "I'm an idiot," she whispered. "You're not an idiot. You're scared. But you need to stop letting fear make your decisions for you." That night, Sarah sat on her bed with months' worth of ultrasound photos spread out before her. She selected the clearest ones, the ones where the baby's features were most visible, and carefully composed a text message. "I know you're angry with me, and you have every right to be, but I thought you might want to see our baby. The doctor says everything looks perfect. I love you. And I'm sorry." She attached the photos and hit send before she could change her mind. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. "Is that really our baby?" Sarah's heart leaped. "Yes, that's from last week. 18 weeks and 3 days. The baby looks so real. So human. The technician said we could find out the sex if we wanted to." There was a long pause. "What did you tell her?" "That I wanted to wait for you." Another pause. Then, "Can I call you, please?" When her phone rang, Sarah answered on the first ring. "Hi," Marcus said, his voice softer than it had been in days. "Hi. I've been looking at the photos for the past hour. I can't stop looking at them." Sarah closed her eyes, relief flooding through her. "The baby has your nose. You can see the nose. In the profile shot. It's definitely your nose." She heard him take a shaky breath. "Sarah, I'm still hurt. I'm still angry about the lying. But seeing these photos, this is our baby. Our baby. I know. I'm sorry I kept it from you. I'm sorry I made you miss so much. I don't want to miss anymore. I want to be part of this as much as I can be from here. What does that mean? It means I want you to call me after every appointment. I want you to send me every photo. I want to know when you're feeling sick and when you're feeling good, and when you first feel the baby move. I want to be as close to this pregnancy as possible, even if I can't be there physically. Sarah was crying again, but this time it was from relief. I want that too. I want to share everything with you. And Sarah, we're going to figure this out. All of it. The timing, the money, the fact that I'm going to miss the birth. We're going to figure it out together. What if we can't? What if it's too hard? Then we'll figure that out too. But I'm not giving up on us. I'm not giving up on this family we're starting. Family. The word hung in the air between them, full of promise and possibility. I love you, Sarah whispered. I love you too. Both of you. The next 2 months transformed their relationship in ways Sarah had never expected. Instead of the distance making them grow apart, sharing the pregnancy brought them closer together. Marcus became an expert at reading ultrasound images, able to identify tiny hands and feet with the accuracy of a trained technician. He researched cribs and car seats and pediatricians, creating spreadsheets and lists that he would email to Sarah with detailed explanations of his findings. I think we should go with the convertible crib, he said during one of their nightly calls. It's more expensive up front, but it turns into a toddler bed later, so we'll save money in the long run. Sarah looked at the crib he'd recommended, already assembled in what had become the nursery. Actually, Emma and I already bought it and put it together. Turns out I'm pretty good with an Allen wrench. You put together a crib? By yourself? Emma helped, although she mostly just handed me pieces and made helpful comments like, "Are you sure that's supposed to look like that?" Marcus laughed and Sarah felt that familiar warmth spread through her chest. They were finding their rhythm, learning how to be partners in this pregnancy despite the distance. I wish I could have been there, he said. I wish I could have put together our baby's crib. You'll be here for other things. The first bath, the first smile, the first time the baby sleeps through the night. If I'm lucky, maybe I'll even be here for the birth. They both knew the timeline made that unlikely, but they didn't say it out loud. Some hopes were too precious to examine too closely. At 24 weeks, Sarah felt the baby's first strong kick during one of their video calls. Oh, she gasped, her hand flying to her stomach. What's wrong? Are you okay? The baby kicked, really kicked, like, hard enough that I could see it. Marcus's face lit up. Really? Can you feel it again? Sarah pressed her hand to her belly, waiting. Come on, little one. Show Daddy what you can do. As if responding to her voice, the baby kicked again, strong enough that Sarah's shirt moved. Did you see that? She asked excitedly. I saw it. I actually saw our baby kick. Marcus's voice was filled with wonder. Do it again. They spent the next 20 minutes trying to coax more movement from the baby, laughing when Sarah's attempts at poking her belly resulted in what felt like indignant kicks in response. I think we're disturbing nap time, Sarah said finally. I can't believe I just watched our baby kick. I can't believe I could see it from here. Modern technology is pretty amazing. Sarah? Yeah? I'm really glad you're pregnant. I know the timing isn't perfect, and I know we're not doing this the way we planned, but I'm really glad this is happening. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. Even though I lied to you, I forgive you for that. I understand why you did it, even if I don't agree with it. You were trying to protect me, and I love you for that, even if it was misguided. I love you too. So much. I love you both. My girls. Girls? Just a feeling. I think we're having a daughter. Sarah smiled, her hand still resting on her belly. We'll find out soon enough. At 28 weeks, Sarah's carefully constructed world began to unravel. She'd been feeling off for days, more tired than usual, with a persistent headache that wouldn't respond to the pregnancy-safe pain relievers her doctor had approved. She'd attributed it to stress and the increasing demands of carrying a baby. But when she woke up one morning with swollen hands and blurred vision, she knew something was wrong. The emergency room visit confirmed her fears. Preeclampsia. Severe. Enough that her doctor wanted to admit her for monitoring. We need to keep a close eye on you and the baby, Dr. Martinez explained, her expression serious. Your blood pressure is dangerously high, and we're seeing protein in your urine. The good news is that we caught it early, but this is a condition that can escalate quickly. Sarah nodded, trying to process the information while texting Marcus. With shaking hands. Emergency room. Preeclampsia. They're admitting me. Her phone rang before she could put it down. I'm coming home, Marcus said without preamble. You can't. The project. Fuck the project. You're in the hospital. Marcus, listen to me. The doctor says they caught it early. They're just monitoring. Me. There's nothing you can do here that the medical staff can't do better. I can be there. I can hold your hand and advocate for you, and make sure you're not going through this alone. If you leave now, you forfeit the completion bonus. We need that money for the baby. We need you healthy more than we need money. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling overwhelmed by the weight of the decision. Give me 48 hours. If things get worse, if the baby is in danger, then come home. But if I'm stable, if we're both okay, then finish the job. We're so close to the end. Sarah, please, trust me to know what's best for me and the baby. Trust me to call you if I need you. The silence stretched between them. Finally, Marcus spoke. 48 hours. But I'm talking to your doctor myself. And if I don't like what I hear, I'm on the next flight home. Deal. The next 2 days passed in a blur of blood pressure checks, blood draws, and fetal monitoring. Sarah's phone became her lifeline, with Marcus calling every few hours to check on her and speak directly with her medical team. Emma practically moved into the hospital room, bringing real food and gossip magazines and serving as Sarah's advocate when the nurses were busy. Your blood pressure is stabilizing, Dr. Martinez reported on the second day. We're going to keep you for another day or two, but I think we caught this in time. Sarah felt a rush of relief. And the baby? The baby looks great. Heart rate is perfect. Movement is normal. We'll continue monitoring, but I'm optimistic. That night, Sarah called Marcus with the good news. The doctor thinks we're out of the woods, she told him. My blood pressure is coming down and the baby is doing great. Thank God. She could hear the relief in his voice. I've been going crazy here, imagining the worst. I know. I'm sorry you had to go through that alone. I'm sorry you had to go through it at all. I should have been there. You were there. Every phone call, every conversation with the doctors. You were there. It's not the same. No, it's not, but it's what we have right now. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Sarah, I've been thinking. When I get home, when the baby comes, I want us to get married. Sarah's heart skipped. Married? I know it's not the most romantic proposal, delivered over the phone while you're in a hospital bed. But I love you. And I want to be your husband. I want us to be a real family. We're already a real family. You know what I mean. I want to make it official. I want to marry you because I love you, not because you're pregnant. I want to marry you because I can't imagine my life without you. Sarah was crying again, but this time it was from joy. Yes. Yes? Yes, I'll marry you. I love you too. Even though I proposed over the phone. Even though you proposed over the phone. Although you're definitely going to owe me a proper proposal. When you get home. Deal. The most romantic proposal you've ever seen. I'm going to hold you to that. Sarah was discharged from the hospital after 5 days with strict orders to take it easy and monitor her blood pressure daily. The preeclampsia had been caught early enough that she could manage it with medication and rest, but the scare had driven home how precarious pregnancy could be. No more working, Emma declared, helping Sarah settle back into her apartment. You're officially on bed rest. The doctor said modified bed rest. I can still work from home part-time. The doctor said to avoid stress. Your job is stressful. Sarah couldn't argue with that logic. Her boss had been understanding about the medical leave, and her short-term disability would cover most of her expenses until the baby came. I'm going to go crazy sitting here all day, she said, surveying the apartment that would be her world for the next several weeks. You're not going to be sitting here all day. You're going to be growing a baby. That's a full-time job. At 32 weeks, Sarah felt the first real contraction. It was nothing like the Braxton Hicks contractions she'd been experiencing for weeks. This was sharp, intense, and accompanied by a tightening sensation that took her breath away. She called the doctor's office, trying to keep the panic out of her voice. I think I'm having contractions, she told the nurse. Real ones. How far apart? Sarah looked at the timer on her phone. About 7 minutes. Come in right away. We need to check you. The next few hours were a wind of examinations, medications, and increasingly frequent contractions. Sarah's cervix had begun to dilate, and despite the medical team's best efforts, it became clear that the baby was coming. We're going to do everything we can to stop labor, Dr. Martinez explained. But if we can't, 32 weeks is very viable. The baby will need some time in the NICU. But the prognosis is excellent. Sarah nodded, trying to process the information while another contraction gripped her. I need to call Marcus. Of course. Do you want us to wait to start the next round of medications? No. Do what you need to do. I'll call him between contractions. Marcus answered on the first ring. Sarah? Is everything okay? I'm in labor. The silence on the other end was deafening. Marcus? Are you there? I'm here. I'm coming home. Right now. It's too late. Even if you left right now, you wouldn't make it in time. I can't miss this. I can't miss our baby being born. You might have to. The doctors are trying to stop labor, but they don't think they can. Sarah heard him take a shaky breath. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I'm not there. It's not your fault. This is just how it's happening. I love you. I love you so much. I love you too. Both of you. The medications worked, at least temporarily. Sarah's contractions slowed and eventually stopped, buying them precious time. The doctor ordered strict bed rest and round-the-clock monitoring, but the immediate crisis had passed. We bought ourselves maybe a week, Dr. Martinez explained. Maybe 2 if we're lucky. That this baby is coming soon. That night, Sarah called Marcus with the update. I'm coming home, he said immediately. I'm done with this job. I'm done being away from you. Marcus, you have 2 weeks left. 2 weeks. I don't care. I'm not missing the birth of our child. Sarah felt a surge of love so strong it took her breath away. Okay, come home. Really? Really? I need you here. I need you to be here when our baby comes. I'll be on the first flight I can get. I'll be there tomorrow. I'll be here. We'll be here. Marcus arrived at the hospital still wearing his work clothes. his face haggard from the overnight flight and the stress of the past few days. Sarah had never been so happy to see anyone in her life. "Hi," he said, dropping his bag by the door and crossing to her bedside. "Hi," she replied, reaching for his hand. He leaned down to kiss her, and Sarah felt complete for the first time in months. "How are you feeling?" "Better now that you're here." "Tired, scared, but better." "And the baby?" "Active." "I think she's been waiting for you." Marcus's face lit up. "She?" "We had another ultrasound yesterday. The technician was pretty confident. A daughter." He placed his hand on Sarah's belly, and as if responding to his touch, the baby moved. "Hello, little girl. It's your daddy." Sarah watched his face as he felt their daughter move, saw the wonder and love there, and felt her heart expand with a happiness she hadn't known was possible. "I'm sorry I wasn't here for everything," he said quietly. "I'm sorry I missed so much. You're here now. That's what matters. I brought something for you." He reached into his bag and pulled out a small velvet box. "I know I already proposed, but I wanted to do it properly." Sarah's eyes widened. "Marcus, you don't have to." "Yes, I do." He opened the box to reveal a simple but beautiful solitaire diamond ring. "Sarah, I love you more than I ever thought it was possible to love another person. You're my best friend, my partner, the mother of my child, and the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, of course." He slipped the ring onto her finger, and Sarah marveled at how perfect it looked there. "I love you," she said. "I love you too. Both of you." They spent the next 3 days in a state of suspended animation, waiting for labor to begin again. Marcus slept in the uncomfortable hospital chair, refusing to leave Sarah's side. They talked about names and nursery colors, and what kind of parents they wanted to be. They made plans for their wedding and discussed whether they wanted more children someday. It was, despite the circumstances, some of the happiest days of Sarah's life. On the 4th day, Sarah woke up to a familiar tightening sensation in her belly. "Marcus," she said, shaking him gently, "it's time." He was instantly alert. "Contractions? Strong ones. And my water just broke." The medical team sprang into action, and within hours, Sarah was in active labor. Marcus held her hand through each contraction, whispering words of encouragement and love. "You're doing amazing," he told her as she gripped his hand through another wave of pain. "You're so strong." "I can't do this," Sarah gasped. "It hurts too much." "Yes, you can. We're going to meet our daughter today. Our little girl." At 3:47 p.m., after 12 hours of labor, their daughter entered the world with a cry that was surprisingly strong for such a small baby. She weighed 4 pounds, 2 ounces, and was the most beautiful thing either of them had ever seen. "She's perfect," Marcus whispered, tears streaming down his face as he watched the medical team examine their daughter. "Is she okay?" Sarah asked, exhausted but desperate to know. "She's breathing on her own, which is excellent for 34 weeks, the neonatologist reported. She need to stay in the NICU for a few weeks until she gains weight and learns to regulate her temperature, but she's doing wonderfully." They brought the baby to Sarah for a brief moment before taking her to the NICU. Sarah looked down at her daughter's tiny face, at the miniature fingers and perfect little nose that did indeed look like Marcus's. "Hello, beautiful girl," she whispered. "I'm your mommy." The baby's eyes opened, focusing on Sarah's face with surprising alertness. "She knows you," Marcus said, reaching out to touch their daughter's cheek. "She knows her mama." "And her daddy," Sarah said, carefully transferring the baby to Marcus's arms. He held her like she was made of spun glass, his big hands gentle and sure. "Hi, sweetheart. I'm your daddy, and I love you so much already. What should we call her?" Sarah asked, watching Marcus cradle their daughter with such natural tenderness. "I don't know. She looks like Hope." Sarah smiled through her tears. "Hope. I like that." "Hope Elizabeth," Marcus said, remembering the name they'd discussed during one of their late-night calls. "After your grandmother." "Hope Elizabeth," Sarah repeated, testing the name. "It's perfect." The NICU nurse approached gently. "We need to take her now, so she can get settled. You'll be able to visit in a few hours." Reluctantly, Marcus handed their daughter over, both parents watching as she was wheeled away to begin her journey toward coming home. The next 6 weeks passed in a blur of NICU visits, feeding schedules, and gradual progress. Hope thrived despite her early arrival, gaining weight steadily and learning to bottle feed with the determination that seemed to be her signature trait. "She's going to be stubborn like her mother," Marcus observed one evening as they watched Hope refuse to sleep, despite obvious exhaustion. "Stubborn like her father, you mean?" Sarah countered, but she was smiling. They'd fallen into a routine, splitting their time between the hospital and home, preparing for the day when Hope would be strong enough to leave the NICU. Marcus had called his construction company and negotiated a delayed start date for his next project, giving them time to adjust to parenthood before he had to travel again. "Actually," he said one evening as they sat in the NICU rocking chairs, each holding Hope during her scheduled feeding time, "I've been thinking about that." "About what?" "About traveling for work. About being away from you and Hope." Sarah looked up from their daughter, who was drowsily working on her bottle. "What do you mean?" "I mean, maybe it's time I looked for something local. Something that would let me come home every night. But the money will be less, yes. But we'll figure it out. I don't want to miss any more of this. I don't want to be that dad who's always gone, who misses first steps and first words and bedtime stories." Sarah felt her heart swell. "Are you sure? Those jobs pay so much more." "I'm sure. We'll make it work on less money. Maybe we won't get the house with the white picket fence right away, but we'll get it eventually. And in the meantime, we'll have something more important." "What's that?" "We'll have each other." Every day, Hope chose that moment to finish her bottle, looking up at them with the alert expression that had become familiar. Sarah could swear their daughter was listening to the conversation, approving of the decision. "I love you," Sarah said, reaching across the space between their chairs to take Marcus's free hand. "I love you too. Both of you." Hope came home on a crisp October morning, weighing a healthy 6 pounds and ready to take on the world. Sarah had been nervous about the transition, worried about managing a newborn without the safety net of the NICU staff. But Marcus was a natural father. He changed diapers with the efficiency of someone who'd been doing it for years, could soothe Hope's crying with a combination of gentle bouncing and soft singing, and seemed to know instinctively when she was hungry or tired. "You're amazing with her," Sarah said one evening, watching him give Hope her bath in the tiny infant tub they'd set up in the kitchen sink. "She's easy to love," he replied, carefully supporting Hope's head while she kicked her legs in the warm water. "Look at that face. How could anyone not fall completely in love with that face?" Sarah looked at her daughter, their daughter, and felt the same overwhelming surge of love she'd experienced every day since Hope's birth. But now it was mixed with something else. Contentment. For the first time in months, she felt like they were exactly where they were supposed to be. "I have something to tell you," Marcus said, not looking up from Hope's bath. "What?" I got a job. Local construction company. The pay is about 60% of what I was making on the road, but it's steady work and I'll be home every night. Sarah's eyes widened. Really? When do you start? Next Monday. Hope will be 3 weeks old. And you're okay with the pay cut? Marcus lifted Hope out of the bath, wrapping her in a soft towel. Sarah, look around. Look at what we have. We have each other. We have this perfect little girl. We have a roof over our heads and food in the refrigerator. The rest is just details. But the house will happen when it happens. Maybe it'll take us 5 years instead of 2. Maybe we'll have to start with a smaller place. But we'll do it together. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. I love you so much. I love you too. And I love our life. All of it. Even the parts that didn't go according to plan. Especially the parts that didn't go according to plan, Sarah corrected, reaching out to stroke Hope's cheek. Their daughter looked up at them with those alert eyes, and Sarah could swear she was smiling. They were married on a Saturday in December, when Hope was 2 months old. It was a small ceremony in Sarah's parents' backyard, with Emma as maid of honor and Marcus's brother as best man. Hope slept through most of the vows, tucked snugly in Sarah's arms in a tiny white dress that made her look like a sleeping angel. Do you, Marcus, take Sarah to be your wife, to love and cherish her in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, for better or worse, for as long as you both shall live? I do, Marcus said, his voice strong and sure. I absolutely do. And do you, Sarah? Take Marcus to be your husband, to love and cherish him in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, for better or worse, for as long as you both shall live. Sarah looked at her husband-to-be, at the man who had travelled hundreds of miles to be with her when she needed him most, who had forgiven her mistakes and chosen their family over financial security. I do. You may kiss the bride. Marcus leaned down to kiss her, careful not to disturb Hope, and Sarah felt complete in a way she'd never experienced before. This was her family. This was her life. This was exactly where she belonged. 1 year later, they were still in the same apartment, but it felt like home in a way it never had before. Hope was walking, babbling constantly, and had developed a particular fondness for knocking down any tower of blocks her parents built. Marcus had been promoted to supervisor at the construction company, bringing their income closer to what they dreamed of. Sarah had returned to work part-time, finding that the balance of career and motherhood suited her perfectly. I've been thinking, Marcus said one evening as they sat on the couch, Hope playing on a blanket at their feet. About what? About that house. The one with the white picket fence. Sarah looked up from the book she'd been reading. What about it? I think we should start looking. Not for anything huge or expensive, but for something that's ours. Something where Hope can have her own room and we can have a little yard. Can we afford it? With the promotion and your salary, I think we can swing something small. Maybe not in the neighborhood we originally looked at, but somewhere. Sarah considered this, watching Hope stack blocks with the intense concentration she brought to everything. I'd like that. I'd like Hope to have a yard to play in. And I'd like to give you that garden you wanted. The one where you can plant roses. You remembered that? I remember everything about our dreams, Sarah, even the ones that got postponed. As if sensing the importance of the moment, Hope looked up from her blocks and clapped her hands, grinning at her parents with pure joy. I think that's a yes vote, Sarah said, laughing. Then it's settled. We're house hunting. They found the house 3 months later, a small 2-bedroom bungalow with a fenced yard and a flower bed that was perfect for roses. It wasn't the grand home they'd originally dreamed of, but it was theirs. On moving day, as they carried boxes and furniture into their new home, Sarah felt a deep sense of satisfaction. "This is it," she said, standing in the living room surrounded by boxes and possibilities. "This is what? This is our happy ending. Not the one we planned, but the one we got." Marcus wrapped his arms around her from behind, and they watched Hope explore her new environment with the fearless curiosity that had become her trademark. "I like our version better," he said. "It's messier and more complicated, but it's real. It's perfect." Sarah agreed. And as Hope toddled over to them, arms outstretched and face bright with happiness, Sarah knew that she was right. Their story hadn't unfolded the way they'd expected. It had been marked by secrets and distance, by fear and premature labor, by financial struggles and difficult decisions. But it had led them here, to this moment, to this family they'd built. Together. Sometimes the most beautiful stories were the ones that didn't go according to plan. "Mama, Dada," Hope called, reaching for both of them. Sarah and Marcus looked at each other and smiled. Their daughter had her first real words, and she'd chosen the most important ones. "Yes, sweetheart," Sarah said, scooping Hope into her arms. "We're here. We're all here." And they were. Finally, completely, perfectly here. In the end, that was all that mattered. Not the timing, not the distance, not the mistakes or the fear. Just love, and the family they'd chosen to build together. One imperfect, beautiful day at a time. The end. Thank you for listening to this story from Tales Beneath. If it touched your heart, please remember to subscribe, like, and share. Until next time, may your own love story be filled with second chances, forgiveness, and the kind of love that grows stronger through every challenge.